Have you been thinking about doing some projects around the house? Maybe you're not sure where to start. You don't want to break the bank and you don't want it to take forever to do. Let me show you a few things I've been up to and hopefully I'll give you some inspiration. I call this one my flower tower, and it was so simple to do. First, I went to the dollar store and bought all these. They're individual, and I drilled holes in the center bottom the width of this pipe. Then I dug a stake in the ground, put the pipe over the stake, and crisscrossed all these on, shoved them in. It was a little hard to do because the plastic wants to be rigid, but I got it on. Actually, I got the hang of it pretty easily. So got them all on, painted this and the top of the pipe, and then just filled it with flowers. It's absolutely adorable. Next year, what I would do differently is I would make it be able to spin. I thought I had that, but it was too heavy once I got all the dirt into it. So I'll have to find a way to do that next year. But is this not adorable and cost hardly any money? And it's just, to me, it's just stunning. Now, this was super easy to do as well. And I didn't even have to use the saw to make one cut in all the wood. And I'll pan and show you all of the different planting beds, but I just wanted to zoom in on one in particular so you could see. It was so easy to do. These are just 1-bys, and I just drilled them into the bottom on each side, put a little cap on top. Then I took the length I wanted in between each of the screws and used that size of another screw, and then just that so I would have even spacing, and then just screwed all the way across the top, put screws in all the way across the bottom and on each side, and then I just strung string. This one has regular twine like you would use to wrap a chicken before you cook it, but I also bought, and I'll show you in another section, I also bought some other stuff that I'm going to use from now on that is elastic string. Think of when you're wearing sweatpants, that elastic around the center. It's just like that, so it gives for the plants so that it's not going to hurt them as they go up the vine. It's super easy, and this one took a little bit of time because the screws are monotonous to get all of them in, and then I have 5 planter beds, so it took me a minute to do all the screwing. But other than that, it was easy. And is this not the cutest grid to be able to grow? Right now I've got peas on there, and as soon as it gets a little warmer, I'll have pole beans on there, and they're just growing right up it. It's just easy and adorable. So here you can see all the different raised planter beds I've created that all have the hoops and all have the trellises added to the front. And you may be wondering why I didn't paint the front of them yellow as well, and that's because I didn't want to deal with it, quite frankly. I figure when the grid has to come down, I'll paint them then. But I think it turned out absolutely adorable, and they're going to serve me very well for all of the gardening. So here I want to show you the hoops that I put on the raised planter beds, and boy was that easy. So I went to Lowe's and got 3/4 inch PVC pipe. Depending on the size of your bed, you're going to want to cut them or leave them, or depending on what you're growing in there, how tall you want them or how short you want them. I left them the length that I bought them in. They come in 10-foot sections, and they're super cheap. I don't remember, $3 each, something like that. And you just get a U shape with holes on each end, screw that into each side of the bed, and then put the pipe in, bend it. It bends super easy. Bend it over and do the same thing other side, and then screw them in tight, and that boy's in there. It's not going anywhere. And does it move? Yes, but that's okay. It doesn't have to be rigid because I'm just doing it so I can put this bird netting over all of my raised planter beds and keep out the bunny that comes around, the chickens, my cat wants to go in here, any little varmint that comes at night, all of that. So it's super easy and again, cost effective. It didn't cost me an arm and a leg to do it. After I put these in and put the bird netting over it, I put screws strategically along the planter beds at each corner and a couple in the middle, depending on the length of the bed, and then just pulled the bird netting to it and hooked it to the screws. Done. Easy, protected, and I'm not going to get eaten out of house and home by all of the varmints in the neighborhood. Oh, and I decided to paint the bottom of all of my planter beds. So I wish I'd have thought of this before I built them last year, but that's okay. I just took the weed eater and got everything cleaned to the bottom as far as I could, and then put plastic down and painted away all of the beds. It was only a quart of paint, so 20-30 bucks I paid for all of my planters. So cute. It adds bright touches to the garden, and I just love it. Here's another one that was, again, super simple, didn't take a ton of time. The $1.99 cages, tomato cages that you can buy at Lowe's or Home Depot, wherever. You take one, put it in when you plant the plant, and then when the plant, this is raspberries, when the plant gets too tall and start going out the top, you put another one upside down on it, and I used that elastic string I was mentioning and just tied it to it in a bow so that it's easy to take off at the end of the season. And then at the very top, I don't know if you could see that, at the very top, you just go round and round and tie it like a teepee so that the ends are together instead of flapping out. I've also seen people bend them down, but I want that extra height, especially for raspberries, because it is only May and they're already too tall for the first tomato cage. So super easy, works for all kinds of different vegetables and fruits that you may be growing. Now I'm inside the chicken yard, and here's a couple little things I did that were super easy in here. At the farmer's market, I bought this sign for $5, and the wording wasn't quite what I wanted, so I got some red spray paint, covered that part up, and then reworded it how I wanted to that would still fit in the box, and then painted the rest of it yellow. She just had a little bit of paint on it, so it was, again, super easy, paint and $5. And I just think it's adorable to have in here. And then right behind me is an old garden cart that I was getting ready to throw away, and it dawned on me, why not just put it in the chicken run? I'm never gonna use it, so I think it's cute in here. It adds a cute little touch to it, and then to top it off, the front has a little basket on it, so I can put food in here and the chickens just come go crazy with it. So it cost me 5 years ago when I bought it, but it was just sitting there rotting away. So I just thought that was a cute little touch to add to the inside of the chicken coop. Chicken run, not coop. Now this one is one of my favorites. I went down to the local farm supply store, and for $20 I bought this kettle panel, and it's an 8-foot section kettle panel, and I already had these stakes, but you can use whatever fence stakes, whatever you have, and I hooked them to it, made the trellis go around, and then put that inside of one of the raised planter beds and more stakes, and then zip tied it all together. If you can, I had to do it by myself, so if you have 2 people, you could probably hook them to these hooks on the posts, but I had to make it work with just me. So anyways, these kiwis needed a trellis, and I don't know if you've seen a prior video I made where I had them on this wooden trellis that I had made, but this is so much cuter, and I just absolutely love it. And again, not very much money, and this is going to last me for years and years and years. These cost a little bit of money, but compared to the price of wood right now, it's May of 2021 and we're still in the pandemic, and the cost of wood compared to when I built the raised planter beds in the backyard is skyrocketed. So I started searching for some other way to have raised planter beds, and they were outrageously expensive. until I found this one. It's called Rooted or Root Pouch, and they are made out of recycled plastic bottles. The website is the rustedgardening.com, and these are 150-gallon, like I said, recycled plastic bottle raised pouches, and for 2 of them, after tax and shipping, $60. 150 gallons. I have 8 tomatoes in each of them, so 16 tomato plants, and there's plenty of space for everybody. Oh, and while we're showing them, another project I did was I took spray paint, and just to add a little bit more color to the garden, I painted most of my tomato cages different colors. I started out with spray paint I already had, which I had a ton of, and painted them up with that. And then once I ran out, I went and bought $3 cans of spray paint at Lowe's and did a bunch more of them with that. Super, super cute. I think I will be buying some more of these pouches, root pouches. The other size that I like that's big, that they come in all kinds of different sizes. It was $40 for 100-gallon containers, so I might get those next time, just so I have, differences out here in this new garden area. Now this little cuteness I found at the thrift store. I think I paid $15 or $16 for the window, and the panes are still there. I decided not to paint it, but I could have painted it any color. And I just added this planting basket that I already had, which I painted red. And then at the dollar store, I got this and painted it and just screwed it to it. You could use wood and make a wooden planter over on the front of it. Whatever you have on hand, whatever works for you. So I just made it, and the flowers are kind of small. So imagine when they're towering over it and they're going up on the sides, it's going to be super, super, even cuter than it is now. $16. I've also been making plant stands. So I've also been finding at the thrift store different, unique wrought iron pieces, some of them tall, some of them short, and putting plastic charger dishes on top that I found at the dollar store. These at the thrift store are averaging $3.99 or so, and then if you catch it on the day that they have the sales, then they usually give 20% off depending on the thrift store and what sales they have. And this one is a little different design, and then I just turned them into plant stands, glued them together, painted them, and they, I think, just turned out absolutely adorable. And again, some are short, some are tall. At first I was making them all tall, and then I decided, because it's windy over in this section where I have all the wood chips, that I wanted them shorter so they wouldn't topple over. I just think they turned out so, so adorable. And again, I spray painted them with paint I already had. So $3.99, $4.99, under $5 for each of them. And then another thing I did was I had a bunch of, 3 of these old watering cans, so I turned them into planters as well. Here we are in the greenhouse, and I decided this whole section over here on the right was going to be peppers and squash. So I pan you for a minute to other sections. So I took stakes and put them in the ground in the grid that I thought was going to work for my plants. And then here is the stretchy that I've been referencing. I believe it was $12 or $13 on Amazon, and it is a ton. I've used it all over the place and still have a bunch left. I don't remember how many yards it was, but it was quite a bit. So I just threaded the stakes so that as the plants grow, see, it just stretches, the plants can be put in between them to act as a trellis. And a word to the wise, don't just do the bottom levels, do all of it so that well, I guess if you can go around all sides, I can't go around all sides, so that as the plants grow, it's already done for you, because now it would be pretty hard for me to get back there and add more string to it. So this, again, easy trellises. I already had the stakes. You could use whatever stakes, wood, whatever you have. And there's my trellis for a whole section of my greenhouse. Aren't the squashes doing crazy? And my peppers are just starting. Again, I went on Facebook Marketplace and I searched for free pallets and made this raised planter bed out of pallets. It was 2 saw cuts, so you could do whatever shape and size you want. I just didn't want to do a lot of cutting, so I did the cuts, cut it in half, and then cut it in sections, and then screwed it together. And then I added extra wood to fill in the gaps. And except for that mustard paint that I used for the raised planter beds, all this other paint I already had in my garage. So you can see over here where I didn't add extra, that's how the gaps were out here. But for just time, I've made this adorable raised planter bed. And again, that's all broccoli in there. And again, I lined it with plastic. I have 5 mil plastic, so it's nice and thick. Lined it with the plastic and filled it and planted. I didn't want to have any chemicals leach into the plants again, so that is why the plastic's there. Now, I added this arched pipe recently, and I haven't bird netted it because I'm trying to decide. This original one I made here against the back wall, I can't decide if I'm going to leave it or take it off. I had that one in there first and then added the arch one later, and I think I'll probably take the back one off. Kind of funny backstory is that's original shower for camping that was the first generation to put a shower curtain around so I could take a shower while camping. So I didn't want it to go to waste. I figured I'd use it somewhere in the garden. So again, cute. Not any money. Now over here, we're at a rockery I created a few years ago, and have added plants to along the way. And how it all started is when my late husband passed away and I was going through his concrete tools, I ran across what I thought was fence tops that he had made for a job he had extra of. But as I took the wood off, I discovered they were these cute concrete pieces that I thought would be great for a walkway. So there wasn't enough of them for the whole area, so only 4 of them match, and then this last one was a sample he had made, so I just added that because it was similar enough. Now, it didn't start out that this was going to be a memorial in his honor, but then I was thinking one day, and another backstory is my mother-in-law gave us these gorgeous dishes, and we were told to never ever eat on them. And one day the glass shelf gave way in the china hutch and they came crashing down and a quarter of them broke. She's now passed as well, so between him and her, this has kind of turned into a little memorial area. But what I did was I took the dishes and just put them in the gravel, and I tried to hide the sections that are broken and ugly by pushing them into the gravel. Now, it's a little eclectic, I know, but they have been sitting in a closet for years doing nothing, and I always assumed my late husband would make a table out of them or do something in concrete with them. And since they're both gone, I decided let's just go ahead and use them somewhere, and I think it turned out absolutely cute. So they are gold, and the center emblem is platinum, and the green is emerald. So they are definitely something you don't want to throw away. I couldn't bear to put them in the garbage, so I think it turned out very, very cute for what it is. So, in honor of their memories, So, although this one cost a lot of emotion, it was no money. Here are some more of the plant stands that I created, again, from the dollar store and the thrift store. And I think they are also very cute. There is a company called Chip Drop, and their website is chipdrop.com. You sign up on it, you can opt to pay the $20 fee, or the arborist will pay the $20 fee, and then you wait for a local arborist to need to get rid of the mulch that he or she made from a job, and they will contact you and deliver all of however much you want. It's actually a lot of wood chips and mulch. I have one cedar tree that he delivered and one fir tree that he delivered. I figured out one day too late that cedar is no good for chickens' respiratory system, so I had to have two trees delivered, but that's okay because this area used to be all gravel, and I decided to go ahead and make it an addition to my garden with all this free mulch that I have. I have been spreading it everywhere. I've been using it as mulch on top of my potted plants, in my raised planter beds, in the chicken run, basically everywhere in my yard. I have spread this, and one of my friends has been doing his yard with it because there was just so much. So it's a great way to get chemical-free mulch. The chickens are so cute. Mulch and fresh cut wood chips for whatever needs you have. Just be warned that it will probably be a ton. And if I hadn't realized too late that cedar was no good for chickens, I would have only had half as much. But it turns out now I've got a new garden from it. Chipdrop.com. So for this project, I went on Facebook Marketplace and I bought a dresser for $15. I used paint I already had in the garage. I drilled holes in the bottom, lined it with plastic, and then filled it with these vegetables and these flowers, and just think it's so adorable. I put them on top of wood pieces and then drilled them to the wood so they'd be a little more stable. And I just think this turned out absolutely adorable. You could stack it in whatever kind of shape works for your area. I've has so many different ideas for it. It was hard to choose, but I think overall it just turned out so adorable to have this little added color to my garden. So cute. Now over here, it's not the prettiest section of my yard, but I still wanted to show you. This is where I have all my storage for all of my gardening, the garbage cans, and I used more free pallets to make compost. I started out making compost in garbage cans with holes in them, but it just wasn't enough. They were hard to churn and just way too small. So I took these pallets, screwed them together, added chicken wire in a couple key spots, and now I'm just making compost. This year, the strawberries got all of the compost, so I'm hoping that I'll have a really good crop of strawberries this year. So I think that's quite a bit of compost I'll be able to make for years to come out of just some free pallets. I hope you've enjoyed watching all of my different creations and DIY projects. I hope I've given you some inspiration to do some of your own. And please, any comments, any suggestions you have, anything really cool that you've made that you think I might like, I really would appreciate you clicking on the comment section and telling me all about it. Thank you for watching, and never forget, if I can do it, so can you. Make it a great day.